Hi everyone, welcome back to Flip That Zoo. My name's Nebu Girl. Today we're going to be working on this habitat right here, right next to the entrance where we've kind of been working in the past. This is the old habitat, what used to be there. And this is going to be our new habitat. It's going to be refurbished, refabbed, much prettier. And we're moving these guys over there, the llamas. Right now they're in this really huge area, and I mean, while they're still going to be in a pretty big area, I don't think we need just llamas in this one section. I'm not sure what I'm doing with this section yet. I'm either going to keep it as one big area, or I might break it into 2 or 3 areas. We'll see what happens with that, but we're not doing that this episode. So what we're going to be working on is we're going to be working on the llamas, and it's going to be a walkthrough habitat because what I didn't know when we first got the llamas in the game is that llamas can be a walkthrough habitat, and I really highly recommend looking through the animals and finding out which ones can be walked through and which ones can't, because if you can give your viewers that experience, it can be really just a little bit something cool or different versus just sticking them all behind walls and having everybody walk past and point. I decided I wanted them to be interactive because right next to them, the habitat next to them is the Indian peafowl, which is also a walkthrough habitat. So I figured out this whole entrance beginning area we would turn into walkthrough habitats. So that is what we are doing today. And just to kind of give it a little bit of backstory, with this Flip That Zoo is my very first franchise zoo on Planet Zoo was not that great. If you go back and watch episode 1 of this, you'll see me kind of giving a little tour of it for you guys so you guys can see what I mean by things that need to be fixed, things that need to be changed, things that need to be updated. And this is me just making sure the height for the walls that I'm building were correct for the llama. Just wanted to make sure that we wouldn't have any issues when it came to putting llamas in here. I don't know why I threw the llamas in here one day. I opened this zoo back up and I was like, oh, my first franchise, let's put the llamas in. And then I realized when I was putting the llamas in originally, back when llamas first came out, I was like, oh wow, this zoo is really jacked up. And that was when I was like, and we need to rescue this zoo. I mean, I realized I could have just deleted the whole thing, but what's the fun in that? I thought it'd be more exciting to show what I've learned, show what's different, show what's changed. Yeah, so I guess if there's one thing I've learned kind of over time is that it can be a lot funner to create the borders yourself for the animals. Like when I first started playing, I didn't even know this was a thing. Like I thought you had to use the barriers that came in the game. I didn't realize you could basically stop them from going anywhere using objects, walls, rocks, sticks. I've seen so many people use plaster pieces, shapes. So the creativity totally abounds in this game once you just kind of get out of that mindset of you can only do one thing. So this is when I decided I was going to do definitely a walkthrough habitat. I thought it'd be really cool because I never realized the llamas were a walkthrough habitat. I never realized it. I just never even looked, never thought, oh cool, walkthrough habitat. And then I was touring another zoo for the unicorn community who I'm a part of, and they walked into a habitat that was walked through and it was llamas, and I was like, what? And I went back and I realized, oh my gosh, of course, it's like petting zoo, of course you can walk in and touch the llamas. Neat. And then that's when I started walking, like flipping through the book, through the journal that comes with the game, up in the top left hand corner. And I started realizing there are a lot more animals that have walked through habitats than I realized. So we're gonna get I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to have every walkthrough animal that's available a walkthrough habitat in this game. If I can figure them all out, I'm going to put them all in here for that. Because I just think that's much more exciting. I already have an idea for what I'm going to do next, so I'm hoping you guys like it. And I decided, as I was going along, I was like, oh, look, we totally need windows, because they're tall. These pieces are tall. I think it's, I can't remember how tall it is for llamas, but it's a good height. I think it's like 6 or 7 feet. I don't recall right now, because I'm not looking at it, but it's like 2 point some odd meters or something like that. So I think it's like 2.3 or something. Anyway, so I realized we need windows, and yeah, let's totally put some windows in here. So I think this zoo is going to be really exciting as I start letting my imagination just kind of flow and let go. And right now I'm just kind of filling the spaces that are there, but I think I'm going to start morphing the spaces next. I think that's the next thing on the agenda, is to not just take what's there, but to almost just like redo what's there. Get rid of the outlines and start coloring outside the lines, basically. I think that's what's next. So I did want to put a habitat here, though, because I always kind of thought, you know, the entrance area of zoos should always have some sort of habitat or animal. And you'll notice I put the walkthrough gates toward it's not necessarily the back, but toward the left, not right there at the entrance, which I think would have been old me's initial response of, hey, let's put it right there at the entrance. What happens if you do that is you get a bottleneck experience, and you get lots of people cramming right there in the entrance, and then you have to adjust. So to bypass that, I just put the entrance toward the side of it instead of the direct front. So yeah, there was a method to my madness, I swear. But yeah, so I think this is actually starting to look really cool. Some of the pieces I'm keeping, kind of like you do when you flip a house. If you can refab or keep some of the pieces, you keep them. And then other things I'm just deleting, just totally wiping off the map, like, don't need it. And then I liked this, and I was like, ooh, how can we incorporate this into the build? And at first I thought, oh, by the benches. Then I was like, oh no, by the windows. That'd be really cool, because people are going to be standing there looking in to the habitat. And then I realized that while I had a good idea creating this thing, it was not polished. So I had to adjust it, change it a little bit, make it more realistic, take those huge pots away because they were just ginormous. And I put these smaller pots there. And then I also kind of realized that beyond just the poles not going in the holes correctly, I realized that the sunscreen was kind of just floating magically, and that was a little weird. So you'll see me adjust that. And once again, physics, I decided to put a pole to hold up the front of the sunscreen, because obviously we all know it's not going to just sit there on its own. I mean, I guess if it had a strong enough bar, it could, but I thought this brought more of a realistic kind of feel to it, and I liked the bars. So I added bars and adjusted all of that. And yeah, so this is coming along quite nicely. I think it's a lot. I'm actually having a hard time turning it off when I'm not recording for an episode. In between recordings for this, I spent time with the animals and fixing their needs and adjusting stuff, because I don't want any of the animals to, I mean, except from old age, I don't want them to pass away because they weren't cared for. So I spent a good amount of time just fixing the animals and fixing the staff in between recording. Unfortunately, there's just so much adjusting you have to do, because this is franchise, it's not sandbox. So in franchise, you know, anytime I press play, you know, the world continues, life goes on. So yeah, you'll see the little alerts up in the left-hand side as I'm in build mode, because you can't turn those off in build mode. Not in franchise, anyway. If I were in sandbox, I could completely turn all of the alerts off and just make all the animals slap happy and move on with my day. But I thought this was a bit of more of a challenge, because even though I am refabbing the zoo, I've got a budget. I've got to stick to the franchise budget. I can't blow it all too fast, which actually makes me kind of think that I'm gonna actually have to play this a bit beyond just building, and maybe I can show some videos of like animal care and maintenance and stuff, because what's gonna happen is when you look at the finances or the income for this zoo, we're in the negatives right now. We're not making a profit because I'm pausing so often and just sinking tons of cash in. So eventually we're going to have to unpause, care for the animals, get some ticket sales going, and make more money, make more budget for our flip. You can't flip a house without a budget, so gotta have a budget. You can't flip a zoo without a budget. Yeah, so and this is, I still don't know what I'm gonna put on the other side there. I think I have an idea of what I want to do, and you'll notice this area here is a little funky. I'm not sold on it being just like this yet. I know that's where I'm going to have the walkthrough exit be. I know that for a fact. I'm set on that. I was just kind of contemplating whether I should put like a staff building there, maybe remove that overhead bridge. I don't know. I have all these ideas and thoughts going through my head of what I want to do with it. I guess we'll just kind of see where my imagination takes me once we get there. But I think we're going to finish that area in my next video, and I might even do more than one habitat if I end up breaking it up into habitats. I don't know. What are you guys thinking? Those of you who are watching and following along, what would you like to see next? Would you like to see me rescue more of the animals that are already in here? I have some animals in storage that we could possibly bring out. There's lots of possibilities. Because we're about to reach where the Indian peafowl are, which their habitat isn't completely horrid. It does need a little bit of a spruce up, but it's not completely horrid. But they also go right into the hippos, which I did on stream, and I did it because I was just trying to goof off with that's when I put the llamas in, by the way. I was trying to goof off and say, hey, how about we, add some fun stuff to this old, zoo that I had. And I was adding the llamas because we wanted to see what the llamas looked like, because I was so excited for llamas. Llamas is probably one of my favorite animals in the games. And when I did that, I don't remember how it happened, but there was a joke happening about one of my mods being a hippo. Which, by the way, both of my mods are in the hippo habitat, and they're both named as hippos. I do have a third mod that needs to be named in this zoo somewhere. I'm not sure what I'm going to turn her into yet. But yeah, so I do have 2 hippos in the hippo area, and they're my mods. And and the habitat actually turned out really nice. Like, I liked it so much, I actually ended up putting it on the workshop. So I'm not going to really do much with that specific habitat. However, I am going to change the underground viewing, because you'll see that later when I get to that area. There's an underground viewing area, and it's really cool, but it's just walls and then glass and then more walls. So I definitely need to make that prettier. Like, it needs kind of like lipstick on a pig, basically. It just needs to look prettier. It's done, but it's not polished. So I'm not going to refab the habitat for that one necessarily, but I will refab the areas leading to the habitat on that one. And we do need to get more eateries, staff, stuff like that. Things you're going to see in a regular zoo, because we don't want our keepers running to Timbuktu and back to take care of our animals. So I'm definitely going to stick some sort of staffing, and it's going to be interesting to try to tuck it away without people being able to access it. So that part will get interesting, and that's where it gets a little on the creative side. This part, I'm trying to make a viewpoint or a focal piece for this, and I didn't realize it till I was in edit mode the first time that this is so off center, and the whole rest of me polishing the build, it kept bugging the heck out of me that it was so off center. So don't worry, it's not going to stay like that. It will eventually get fixed. It will eventually get a touch up, a spruce up. This is just my first pass. What we're watching right now is my first pass at fixing up this habitat. And then after I go into edit phase to kind of go through the video and get rid of just me staring at the screen for half an hour. Because that's what you do when you're thinking about what to do next. You stare at it, and I often forget to hit the pause button on my recording. So yeah, I have to edit that out. But the good thing is, the reason why I don't stop doing that is when I edit it out, because I have to go through it and watch it, it lets me stare at what you guys are staring at. It lets me look and see through, the viewer's eyes, you guys' eyes. And it lets me go, oh, well, that looks wrong. Or, oh, I could fix that up or change that. And it just reignites my imagination, I guess is the best way to put it. And then I go in and change all of that stuff. Now, I realize I'm changing all of that, which is not part of this habitat, but I was trying to make it... I had an idea in my head, and I was trying to match the idea. I sort of did. Later. Not right now. I still feel like it needs work. So this is the part that I'm not sold on as far as being 100% done. I feel like it's 80% done. Like, the principle is there, and what I kind of want to do with it is there. But seeing as the part that's kind of unfinished is part of this other habitat, which the llamas are currently standing in, I was like, you know what? Let's mess with that next time. Let's stop trying to mess with that wall, because it's going to drive you crazy. Especially since I didn't have a final idea for it, although I think I do now. So yeah, so that's going to be exciting. I think I've got thoughts and ideas on what I'm going to do next. And then, yeah, so then I just finished doing the walkthrough path, which at first I was going to do one path, and I was like, oh no, let's do two. Let's do a wraparound. And I was going to put their bedding, their sleeping quarters in the middle. And I was thinking something like stalls, but then I was like, well, we don't really need stalls as much as we need a barn type situation. So I ended up making kind of like a llama barn. I don't know if that's what you would call it, but that's what I'm calling it. It's the llama barn. And this is just me adjusting, of course, the barriers, because, you know, when you create your own, you've got to use that null barrier. And this is me fiddling with this area again, because I wanted the keepers to be able to go in through underneath the bridge, so you wouldn't necessarily, as a zoo person, a zoo customer, you wouldn't necessarily see the staff walking in and out. I mean, you would see them, but it wouldn't be 100% obvious, which is why I said I'm not sure I'm done with this section yet, because it doesn't feel done. So we'll figure it out. But this is me trying to adjust, and then I forgot how the walkthrough gates worked, because I haven't done connecting walkthroughs yet. I always have some sort of a barrier between them, so I never thought about how that worked. So you'll see me adjusting that, changing that, moving that around. Yeah. And I didn't want to delete it, because I wanted you guys to see the thought process. I know sometimes people who make these videos will delete a lot of the, I guess, thought process content, but I don't like deleting it. I like having you guys kind of along for the journey, so you guys can see what I was doing when I changed something, or where I started with an idea and how the idea grew and morphed. And it's also kind of a, you know, kind of a toss to, we're not perfect. Nobody is perfect. Even a nice, finished, polished build doesn't always go through that way when we're starting it. Sometimes it takes us messing up a bit to make it good before it becomes good. So I like to leave that in there for you guys. I like you guys to know that I'm just like you guys. And I started putting the water pipes in. I am going to, like, and I was already thinking this when I was putting the water pipes in, I'm going to put a water feature in here because I prefer natural water for the animals versus the pipes, but I knew I was moving them in there, and I realized before I moved them in there so they don't die of thirst, I was just going to go ahead and put the pipes in there. So I'm just adjusting a few things, and then we're moving the llamas. And yeah, I think it's really starting to come together with how everything's working. I was moving the llamas right now because I wanted to make sure that I had given them enough space with how many llamas we had. While I was waiting for them to get moved, I wanted to, this is just my brain outline of how I wanted the barn size to be. And then I just grabbed the grid, built the barn, and yeah. So you will see that it's a little on the slow side, but building a barn. And I left it very open-aired because I just kind of thought, you know, I wanted the llamas to feel comfy and happy and joyous. So we're gonna zoom through the barn real quick. But yeah, it's all woodwork to look kind of natural. So do you guys like llamas? Do you guys have a favorite animal in the zoo? Because I know I've mentioned that llamas are one of my favorites. Llamas, hippos. I love the polar bears. I have favorites for sure. One thing I'm anxious for, and I'm hoping they'll do one day, is I really want some bird aviaries. I don't even care if they put them in the form of exhibits. That would work for me. But of course, they couldn't be the Planet Zoo typical exhibit, so I guess it would need to be a upgraded exhibit where it would look like a cage or something. I would prefer to build my own. Trust me, I would. But I'm willing to settle. I just want birds in the game. Because when I go to zoos, I love going to the bird area and watching bird shows or getting to talk with them or see them. I mean, I really would love some macaws in the game. That would bring me so much joy. Or cockatiels, cockatoos, all of those things. But macaws are my favorite bird as far as, yeah, they're my favorite bird. So I would love to see them in the game. And we can also get really unique with the birds too, like Brazilian bird and stuff. And if you guys notice this real quick, I'm just going to tell you about it real quick. You guys probably saw me lower that log down to the dirt area. It's actually pretty common in barns and stalls is to have a log or a piece of plank that connects the bottom piece, because it keeps it from shifting in you know, from age and stuff. So it's there, but it's short enough or covered enough by the dirt that the llamas can step over it. But it's there enough that you can notice it. If you guys were wondering why the heck I did that, I just wanted it to be very natural feeling. And then I'm just moving stuff around, adjusting stuff, because I wanted those log corners to be stuck out. I thought it was looking kind of cool. I didn't do it on the bottom ones because there really aren't many corners on the bottom that are attached. I think the only one I did was over there in the right hand corner because it's actually a bottom corner. And yeah, and then we come up with the roof, which I grabbed the wrong roof. I grabbed the bamboo roof at first. I don't know why I did that, but I did. You'll see me realize that I did that, and then I'm like, oh wait, that's the wrong thing. So I went back and took the bamboo off and put the straw on, because that's the look of this zoo. It's a very African looking zoo, and even though I know llamas are from South America, I wanted it to tie in with the rest of the zoo, have that look. So then I built that, and I realized that the structure wasn't quite right and needed to have some support. So I built those, just finalized that. And I think it's looking really good. Like, I know it's very open air, but I mean, they're llamas. They don't need to be in an enclosed, air-conditioned room or anything. So just getting this adjusted and set, and you'll see how it was a little off-center, which kind of bugged me a bit, but easy to fix. Planet Zoo makes it really easy to fix. The other thing about building that I wish Planet Zoo had sometimes is that we could resize the items we're given. I know they provide different sizes, but sometimes I would love to be able to hit the bracket keys or something and just make it shrink or make it bigger. Or maybe a click and drag would work too. I was thinking Sims at first, but you know, click and drag would work too, like Prehistoric Kingdom. Either one of those would work. And now, of course, you got to do your paint work. And I'm trying to think of where the llamas would walk the most. And that's where I wanted it to be kind of sandy-ish looking. And the llamas have arrived. So now I'm checking to make sure that their habitat is the way they would want it. So that they're happy while I'm building, while I'm adjusting and building and doing the things that I need to do for the llamas to be happy. Of course, putting their bedding down, because like I said, I wanted it to be their barn. And then I'm putting some enrichment in, which, by the way, franchise, I don't even know if I have all the enrichment that I'm able to get for them, because I haven't studied them yet. Like I said, they were new to the game before I stopped playing this franchise. They were the very last animals I put in, was the llamas. And then I realized we need education, so that gets plopped in pretty quick. And then I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with this window, since I couldn't put the sunshade there. So I was like, maybe this could just be more of a view, but not necessarily made for people to stop and stare inside. Like, not, you know, guest-centric, I guess you could say, as far as a place to pause. Even though they're going to anyway, because it's game mechanics. But visually, for me, it's not them being forced to. So I put a planter box here. At first I was going to use one of the in-game ones, and then I was like, no, that doesn't work for me. So I created my own. And I liked those flowers. I thought they popped really well against the dark woods. So that was a little bit of a lucky break on those flowers. And then this is me trying to figure out what I wanted to use as far as a planter goes. And I realized the green really stood out. So I end up using the green. You'll see me grab it and be like, oh yeah, that's it. That's the winner. And that's the other fun thing about is just because an item says it's for something doesn't mean you have to stick to that. You can always just break out your creativity and think outside the box, which is how I'm making this zoo flipped. Is I'm stopping thinking, you know, animal must go in box, animal must go in fence. And I'm trying to think of different unique ways to put the animals in the zoo. And then this is simple adjusting. You just kind of adjust the height, adjust the length, make sure everything looks good. And the reason I built this box wasn't just because there wasn't a sunshade and it didn't match the other windows. I mean, that is one of the main reasons. But the other reason is I wanted to put a llama sign here. And I kind of figured that the education sign would go really well in this garden. And that's what I end up doing. And then I realized we need to fix the janky paths around this place. And I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it. And I wasn't happy with what I was doing. The reason why I didn't want that double path there is because I think in that blank area, at least I've been thinking in that blank area, I'm going to put an information booth is what I think I'm going to do for that area. Or maybe some memento type stuff, some gift shops. I think I'm going to stick right there. Kind of as a, when you're leaving the zoo, when you're coming in the zoo. So when you're coming in the zoo, you're getting tickets and information and stuff like that. And when you're exiting the zoo, you're buying the mementos before you leave out the door. So I think that's why, or actually I know that's why I didn't put the pathing like a double like that, because I wanted to leave the option open while I think about it. And then I'm trying to figure out what foliage I want in here, because you can't just leave them hanging about with nothing in their habitat, because otherwise it looks very boring. So popping in some green, popping in some color, trying to make it look good. And you're gonna see me add the water feature soon. And then I realized that was sticking through the wall, so I fixed that. I added education. I realized some of it was a little bit overkill, so I took a few of them down. And then adjusted that. And by the way, I didn't catch it on video because I was trying to figure out why the alerts kept going off. So it's off video, but remember I said I was adjusting some of the game and kind of fixing up some of the animals off screen. Well, also off screen, the education stuff kept going off. Like it kept saying education's wrong. And what it was, the speakers that I had laid out for not just the llamas, but all kinds of different animals were all going off like crazy. So I actually took them and I stuck them in the flower pots where the sun visors are. Kind of tucked them in there because I thought it was a unique place to tuck them, and it also gives more education for the llamas, and we do need it. I will show it to you guys at one point. Maybe I'll go into the heat map and show it to you guys where they're kind of tucked away. And this is the water feature I was telling you about. I didn't want it to be super deep because llamas aren't real big swimmers, but I wanted them to be able to have a nice fresh drinking area versus those pipes. So I get this kind of set up for them, and I just wanted to make sure it looked good, sat right, and they'd be able to get in and out just in case one of them happened to crawl in there. Didn't want any trapped llamas. And then I wanted to put a little bit of foliage around it so it's not just water around dirt, because usually most places water tends to grow some sort of plants. And then I also wanted to give it some depth, so I put some rocks in there, make it look less like carved dirt. And yeah, so this is our beautiful water feature for our llamas. It's kind of simplistic, but I think it works really well. And I put some other plants over there by it because, like I mentioned, water is going to bring plants. And then I checked their happiness level again because adding the water feature, you know, is bound to screw it up some. And then this is actually after I watched the first edit and I realized I didn't put education signs on the rest of the place. So I went over and popped them everywhere else. You'll see me kind of zoom through here doing this. Yeah. So now we're adding education everywhere else, like we need it. It's crazy how much education plays in this game. I mean, it's a good thing. It is really a good thing. Because I'm trying to turn this more into not just a zoo, but kind of into a conservation type area. So I wanted to make sure the llamas had good education so people could know about them. And I'm going to do that with all the habitats. All the habitats are going to have amazing education. I didn't put any up top on the viewing area. There is one sign there, But I didn't add any extras or change any of that because I wasn't sure if I was keeping it, so I didn't want to fill it out with a bunch of stuff and then delete it next episode. I was like, let's not do that yet. So I figured if we decided to keep that upstairs viewing area, I would add it next episode or the episode after that, or something down the road. We will add it there. Let me be less committal about that. And I decided that there was just too much dirt here, and I was like, oh, I know how to tie it together. Let's add another flower box like we had over in the double window area. It'll tie it nicely together. It'll look like it fits much better. And then it's just a matter of tucking things away and making them frame correctly, because the game can be a little finicky. And then I just had to adjust the poles. It ends up looking really good. You don't have to worry about the box too much because the flowers will cover a lot of it. But it looks good in my opinion. I think it looks great. And then we did the same thing to the other side. And we're kind of just zooming along on that one. So I really think it's like all these small details that make a zoo really pop. And I thought that maybe too much pink was just a little plain, so I added some pops of green in there. And this is when I said, remember how I said it was annoying me that it was crooked? Trust me, I've been thinking about it the entire time. And I was like, you know, while you're fixing the plant boxes, we need to go fix that, because it's in my mind. It was driving me a little crazy. And I'm kind of internally laughing a little bit because I have viewers that watch me regularly on Twitch and live streaming. And they giggle because I will adjust something 10 million times because it's crooked and I don't like it. And then sometimes I'll be like, never mind, let's just do it. Let's just go with it. So I decided the big plant was a little bit too much, so I just added more smaller plants. And yeah, and then I realized we needed to do something with the planters. Those needed plants too. So I did that, and then I realized that over here by the staircase also needed plants, because you can see down in there and it's just a bunch of dirt and grass. So I added some plants, just also because they're going to be walking through it. That right there, that wall is an issue. I realized that, so I need to fix that. All these little things to repair and fix and change. And the funny thing is remember how I mentioned through edits you kind of notice things that you don't notice before? Well, now I'm noticing that some of those plants clip through the wall. I might move a few of those. So this is just us filling the planters, because I realized they were just plain vases sitting there, which I could have left them plain, but I felt like they just needed a pop of color. Because the sunscreen's already a pop of color, and then just the black, and I liked the black vases. You can recolor those vases, but I actually liked the fact that they were black. I thought it really made this pop of color with the plants better, like more of a poof, I guess you could say. Is that the right way to put that? A poof? A poof of color? And that's it. We're done. So this is the before, what it looked like before we started flipping the zoo. And yeah, just a little bit of a video. You can see all the changes that have happened so far if you've watched the past couple episodes. All of that's gone. Now look at it. This is what it looks like now. This new llama habitat. Isn't that just gorgeous? I'm loving it. Oh, I cannot. I'm so excited, guys. This is the llamas. Welcome to our new llama habitat where they're playing and having fun. I really hope you guys like this so much. I had a lot of fun doing it. I really am enjoying this series. Like I said, I'm also doing it for the continuation of the Kangathon, which I know is ended, but I promised I'd finish it. So one step at a time, and just having a blast doing it. I hope you guys liked it. Please subscribe. Thank you so much for coming. Ring that bell. All those really cool YouTube things. And I'll catch you guys in the next one.